Okay, we are live. All right. Welcome to another Radigan RockCast live podcast. You saw it earlier today as the first one and the first video of 2022. And voila, our light is on for the people who are actually watching us do a podcast right now. And yes, and so yeah, I am here with my buddy Anthony. It's been a while since we've been together for people who are watching on YouTube and all that. It's been a while, but we're back together after having so many fights and all that stuff. We made up, which, by the way, we never had a fight. That was a joke, but I ruined it by making it more awkward. And I'm doing it again. I'm
Yes.
making everything awkward like I always do. Yeah, that's the reason why you didn't see him for a while, because he was not that helpful with me, with what I could do to make me and more entertaining for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's that. And so what I've been talking about on my podcast lately has been a lot of, classic nostalgia rock and all that sense. But we talked about today Olivia Rodrigo and H.E.R. and the artist H.E.R. because it was just on my mind, like these new artists that have been coming onto the scene. And even though I'm more of a guy who likes more of like the 60s and 70s stuff because I feel like that has better music, I'm interested. It does, yeah, it does. But I'm interested in knowing what is going on current and all that stuff. Like I say, like our announcer Tim Turner says, we even do stuff even current. So by doing that, I want to listen to Olivia Rodrigo's album Sour and H.E.R.'s album Back of My Mind. And I talked about those albums today, but we're going to be talking more about the artists in general and all that. So, Anthony, what do you think of like the artists such as H.E.R. and Olivia Rodrigo?
Yeah. So what is that? I listened to, I guess, some recent stuff from them over the last week. Yeah, because I think we were supposed to do this like last week, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went and got prepared for that. And all right, so I'll start with her. Like, she's one of those artists where the more I listen to her, the less I enjoy her.
Interesting. It's an interesting thing, but I think I see what you're saying. But go on.
No, because I'll put it here too. So oh yeah, by the way, we're also live on Instagram on my Instagram page. Follow me at Djmegaaim17. That's why I gotta plug my own stuff on there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I went and listened to whatever H.E.R. just recently put out, and like one thing I've noticed that she makes a lot of what I like to call background music.
Here he goes again with his background music.
Yes, background music. And shout out to a friend of ours, Taylor, because she's a big fan of her.
I love that. Shout out to our friend of ours who's a big fan of hers, and now I'm going to crash the career of her and break and smash people's dreams who actually like her.
Yes. Here's the thing. I'll put it like this. H.E.R. is the way I feel about her right now is probably in a similar vein to how I feel about Imagine Dragons, where I enjoy watching them perform live, but not really like enjoy as much like when it comes to listening to their music, and more so like the more I listen to their music, the less I enjoy it. So,
right. Well, the one that I noticed about her is because everybody was talking about how great R&B artist she is and all that, but I don't feel like as much of a connection with her voice. And like, not that she doesn't have a good voice, but somebody who had the song, I think, Rise Up, Andrea Day and all that, like her stuff was really soulful and all that. But when you hear her, it's more of like mainstream pop and all that, and mixed with R&B. But it's hard to tell what her music, what she's really going for. Even with the album Back of My Mind, like there was no theme to it. She had these themes before. She's been around for a while. This wasn't her first album, even though it was technically labeled as her first studio album. She's done stuff before as like a comp, and it's been listed as a compilation album, EPs, but this felt like a compilation album too. I mean, there's 21 songs, and they all don't have and the album does not have like an actual theme to it. And I feel like albums need to have a theme, and there's like some cool. There's some great solid R&B songs on there, but there are some that are just just plain like the collaborations. I just do not like on there.
Yeah, I kind of lost interest after the fourth song.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, no, because
yeah, I know. Like I did too. It wasn't really till Bloody Waters where I was like, okay, this is actually good. And the only other song I can think of that's good on there is Cheat Code. And what else do you have to say, Anthony? Anything else about her as an artist or a performer?
like I said, like her album is just way too long. Like it's that issue I've been noticing. Well, there's some other issues too, but like one of the things I've been noticing, like especially since like what was it, 2018 or whatever, like a lot of people have been releasing what I like to call playlist albums, which is these long, bloated albums of just a bunch of tracks. They're just trying to have as many songs on it, just regardless of its quality. And you get a lot more of what I like to call filler music.
Yeah.
Because let's see, Drake had that problem. I guess you could say maybe, yeah, because Drake has just been releasing nothing but playlist albums.
Well, Drake is Drake. He's so spoiled with his fame that he can do whatever. He can just release a fart and people will go nuts.
Yeah, like his earlier stuff was good. Like his first 4 albums were pretty good. It's just like from like Views onwards.
Yeah, but that was the same with Kanye too, right?
Yeah, well, Kanye's a little more complicated.
Yeah, or Ye as he's called now.
I don't know. He likes to call himself a lot of things.
Yeah,
but he's actually one of the few artists I'm actually legitimately interested in or have any real investment in right now.
Interesting, even now.
Yes, because I know people have their issues with like I guess his later stuff or whatever, but he's like one of the few artists that I feel like that's actually still trying to do interesting things for better or for worse.
Interesting.
Like not all his stuff lands. For example, like Jesus, that's like one of his more, I guess, polarizing albums because you have people that was a very like mixed reception album because you have people that love the album, that hate it. I'm more leaning towards disliking it, but that's also because the lyrics on that album was like really bad, but the production was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you have like The Life of Pablo, which is another album that's pretty polarizing. That I actually enjoyed that album, but I know there's a lot of people that did not, and I understand why. Then you have the one album that nobody really talks about much, which is probably my least favorite album from him. It's called Ye.
Yeah.
That one just kind of exists. That's probably his blandest album, even though it probably had some of his better like lyricism in a while. But I don't know, it just kind of felt like it was there. But then again, for what I've heard, that particular year, because I think that came out in 2018, he was involved in so many projects. Because he was producing a lot of people's albums. He even did a collab album that same year with Kid Cudi called, I think, Kids See Ghosts.
Oh, I don't know Kid Cudi. I don't know who that is.
You ever heard that song Day and Night?
Might have.
Yeah, so he's like one of his artists basically. So yeah, so they did a collab that year, and I think Ye was like the last or one of the last projects he released that year. And to me, that album sounded like the leftovers of everything he was working on that year.
Interesting.
At least that's how I see it. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know what the consensus on that is because again, I don't really hear too many people talk about that one. I think that one just kind of came and went. And then you have the gospel album he had put out, which is called like Jesus is King. I haven't heard the whole album, but like some of the like that was a really controversial one because it's a religious album, and there was a lot of debate whether he really like I guess how religious he is and like how I don't want to say sacrilegious or whatever the album was or whatever, but like there's a whole lot like. This wasn't going to be controversy with that when you have like a commercial artist, especially someone as erratic as him.
Yeah,
kind of trying to do that, but like the songs I did hear in there, it was actually like pretty good. Like, because I heard some people say that was like one of his worst albums. I'm just like, I don't know if I agree with that. I gotta listen to the rest of it, but from what I've heard so far,
yeah,
good stuff. I think.
Well, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but maybe I really should check out Kanye West.
Yeah, you should. I don't know why you haven't.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the thing with Kanye is, and I think Kanye has done this to himself, is that he's kind of put himself more as a brand, as a person, than he has as a musician. And I think he's polarized a lot of people because of who he is.
No, that's definitely the case.
But people don't take him serious for his music, and also too, he's rich not really because of his music. It's because of what he's doing on his business deals. You know?
Yeah, but
he's a businessman too.
It's all of that.
Yeah,
like he's one of the few people that's pursue other endeavors that I still consider like a legitimate artist, because he actually is a very artistic person. It's just that he's also very erratic, and he clearly has some mental issues that he needs to.
But artists that do create work that people like are happy to be that way, in a sense.
Yeah, he's like I would say him like alongside people like Lauryn Hill. It's like the definition of a tortured artist.
Oh, Lauryn Hill, I don't know who that is.
You don't know who that is?
No, not really. Uh-oh. Is that a big, shocking Dear Diary moment right here?
You ever heard of the Fugees?
The Fugees? No.
All right,
I feel like that sounds like an awful name too.
It's a 90s rap group.
Oh, God. Oh, okay. So is it a man or a woman?
It's a
woman. Okay, yeah.
The Fugees was made up of 3 people: Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean. I'm not sure maybe before him.
Nah.
All right. Okay. He kind of fell off after the 2000s, but and then you have the other guy whose name I don't really remember. I don't think anyone really does. He was just there.
Interesting.
But yeah, she came out with one solo album in like 1998 or 99 something, and yeah, she only had like one album, and it's considered like one of the greatest albums of all time.
Interesting.
Yes, it's great stuff. As a matter of fact, Kanye actually sampled one of her songs off from that album in the most recent album he put out, Donda.
Oh yeah, Donda, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that was actually one of the songs he had actually put out as a single. And I was like, yes. Because when I was going through that album, for anyone that follows my Instagram, when I was listening to the album, I was doing, I guess, what you could call the Instagram version of tweeting as I'm listening to it to kind of get my overall
right. I remember seeing you do that. Yeah.
Yeah, my thoughts on that album was kind of all over the place. It's an album I still don't know necessarily how I feel about, because the good songs on there, it's like really good, but the bad songs are like really bad. And it has The Weeknd on it, so that already brings it down a few points.
Well, you don't like The Weeknd?
No.
Oh, I didn't know you didn't like The Weeknd. I thought everybody loved The Weeknd.
No. Honestly, I think he is overrated.
Ooh, that might cause people to get angry.
Well, I don't know about maybe. Yeah, I would probably say that.
No,
except for maybe it's like recent project. I can hear mixed opinions.
I've been hearing some interesting things about the new project that he's done, but like I know the thing about The Weeknd is like, you know how he's performed at like the Super Bowl and all that sense, like, and blinded lights. I mean, he's an interesting artist, but I don't know, you know, like. I don't know if he's more like, in some ways he does have a more soulful voice. In some ways, a little bit more soulful than her in a sense. Like her, it's hard to tell if she is really trying to be completely R&B, or like it's hard to tell what her style is at times.
I think the problem is I don't think she really knows what she wants to do.
Yeah, I think that.
Because again, like, and honestly, like what originally got me interested in her was actually not her R&B, like
yeah.
Like more R&B today. That wasn't really the stuff that got me into her. This actually was making me lose interest in her.
So what got you into her?
Her live performances, she was kind of doing like more like kind of like a mix of like R&B and like rock stuff.
Well, I thought what was interesting is how she played like with the guitar.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like the more like rock stuff that she was doing.
Yeah, and even when that performance she did in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Keith Urban, I think they were doing the Tina Turner song, I think, something like that. You know, that just showed an interesting thing that made me more interested to know more about her.
I kind of wish she had stuck to doing that. I don't know. Just like people in their ear telling her to do more generic stuff, but I just don't think it fits her at all.
Yeah, but like that album that I listened to, and I listened to it a few times. At times it felt like a chore, but the thing that was like funny about it was like with collaborations from like DJ Khaled and like Chris Brown, it's like she doesn't need those people to make a good album. I mean, she wants to do those stuff. She can do a collaboration with them and release it as a single. But if you want to do an album, I think if she really wants to do an actual studio album, she should do something that's just her on it and her alone, and her, having her own identity. And some songs that did have that were like Bloody Waters and Cheat Code, I feel like, in a sense. And I feel like that would work well if she can keep to an album that is mellow but has some R&B. So R&B mellow, I would call it.
The album, her music's very mellow. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, a song like We Made It and Slide. Well, definitely We Made It, the first song. Like, there's nothing going on in there. Like the song We Made It, it's so mellow that it's like boring.
I can't even tell what you're talking about because.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what that's the other problem. All the stuff sound exactly the same. And I'm just
exactly.
I'm just going through it. Like after a while, because I remember I'm trying to listen to like 3 or 4 different artists. Like I'm trying to listen all the way back to back. So like after 4 tracks, I was like, all right, I'm kind of over her. And then I started like after a while, I realized I was losing. I was kind of tuning out of it. So then I started listening to Olivia.
Yes. So what do you think of Olivia Rodrigo?
I think she was definitely better.
Oh, I think so too. I think that album was perfect in that sense. Well, not perfect, but like perfect in the sense of a good concept album of around now. Because when people release albums, it really is just a collection of songs. It's like the old days in the 50s and 40s when you would just release a bunch of songs and put it on a thing called an album. That's all it was. And I think like with her having like a full concept of it, being like teenage bedroom pop and all that, and having it recorded during the pandemic. I mean, it's a great production on it,
Yeah, like it was fine. Like I still wasn't crazy about it. It's to me, like when I was going through each artist, I was like, all right, this is a step up from the last person I just listened to. I think the one I kind of enjoyed the most out of the people I was listening to was Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish. Now, Billie Eilish, I have to listen to more. Like I heard her do a cover of Yesterday one time. I think it was at the Grammys like a few years ago, and that was interesting. I mean, I do want to get more into Billie Eilish and all that.
Yeah.
I think she is an interesting artist. I mean, I remember hearing about her from my cousin for the first time in 2017, and that was before she was really like big, and it wasn't really till like 2019 where she was like a superstar.
Although I have heard like a song on the radio from I don't know how long ago it was that I just recently found out was from her, and it was a song I actually really enjoyed. So now I'm actually interested in it.
Is that song Ocean Eyes or something like that?
Because
Ocean Eyes, I think, was like her first hit. I think because she released I think like an EP in 2017.
Yeah,
and then her first album was in 2019, and then she had an album that came out this year, which is also up for Grammy nomination alongside Olivia Rodrigo and her as well. They're up for Best Album of the Year, and it's definitely not going to her. I'd be surprised if her won her one for Album of the Year.
She might win because I've been noticing she's been winning a lot more lately.
But I think honestly, if anybody would win from out of her or Olivia Rodrigo, I feel like they should give the album to Olivia Rodrigo, but I do not think that she'll get it because I think she still has to prove herself, I think, to the record industry because Billie Eilish is more of an established artist at this point still, so it's possible that Billie Eilish will get it, or even somebody like Lil Nas X and all that stuff. He's very. What? So you don't like Lil Nas X?
He's trash.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Lil Nas X.
You only have one good song.
Which one? Old Town Road?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, even that was an interesting thing. And I will say, it gave Billy Ray Cyrus his second hit.
Yeah.
Because he only had one hit for the longest time. And after 30-odd years, he needed a young 20-year-old rapper to get his career back in shape.
I remember hearing somewhere that there was another like one-hit wonder from like years ago that finally got like a second hit.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe
it's because the younger artists save them. That's why.
Yeah, it's
these younger artists become big and hit the gold line, and they're able to. They realize, oh hey, this guy had a good song. Why don't I help this guy and give him another hit after 30 years of not having a successful song? So hey.
Yeah.
Billy Ray Cyrus is no longer just known for being the guy with the song "Achy Breaky Heart" and the father of Miley Cyrus. Now he's known for being the father of Miley Cyrus, the song "Achy Breaky Heart," and "Old Town Road."
Honestly, for the longest time, I only knew him for being Miley Cyrus. I didn't even know he had a hit.
Yeah, and yeah, I remember my grandparents talking about that, and it was like he only had one hit though, and yeah, and everybody would joke about that her father only had one hit, and now his daughter is like one of the biggest stars in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like, but I don't know. I mean, when you talk about like an artist like Billie Eilish and Lil Nas X, I mean, I think the thing that's interesting about Lil Nas X is that I'm not a fan of his music in a sense. I like what style he brings to, I think, the entertainment industry. I think I can definitely see a lot of Elton John in him in that sense of his style. I mean, considering that it seems like Elton John is kind of taking him under his wing, doing like those, those Uber Eats commercials together and all that. And I think, but in a sense of his music, I think it's like it doesn't really vibe with me. I tried to listen to it and I couldn't even get through it. And I think the thing too is like it's hard. Is he a rapper? Is he a singer? And I think rappers have a hard. And I think the reason why rappers are so snobby when it comes to him is because I think his commercial element is popular not because he's a rapper, but it's because he has the style of rapping and singing. And nobody can tell. Like, there's not a real category for that either, though. It's not a category, and I think that's the thing that people have a problem with. Like people don't like to call him a rapper because they don't feel he's a true rapper. I mean, I will say his album Monero or something like that, Monero or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was an album I think that definitely had a lot of art in it and freedom of expression and all that. So I will give him that.
Well, he has an album already?
Yeah, it's his first album because he had his EP out and all that had Old Town Road. I think his claim to fame was he made a mixtape. I think.
No.
He made like a mixtape in like 2018 and all that, and then he released the EP and all that. I mean, I really started hearing about him just about honestly like this year. The same with Olivia Rodrigo. The same with her. I've heard about Billie Eilish for a few years now. So yeah.
I didn't know she existed until like I think last year.
Who, Billie Eilish?
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard about her before she was big because my cousin was a huge fan of her in like 2017, and like nobody really knew who Billie Eilish was in 2017.
Yeah,
she had like one hit that was sort of becoming popular, but not mainstream, not the way she is now. Now she's like in the level of like Ariana Grande popular and all that. That's the same with like honestly, Olivia Rodrigo is not Ariana Grande yet, but she's close, I think.
Yeah. Honestly, the only reason I the first time I heard about her, like from when I was going to school, because I knew people that listen to her.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if I recall, I think Andrea Mel was her podcast.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, our album, whatever.
Interesting.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. But I think with me, what I was surprised about with Olivia Rodrigo was just how, I mean, I think the thing that's interesting with her is because, she can go the easy route of doing the same generic thing that people do her age, which is to, do the most popular TikTok trend. And she could have just done a popular TikTok trend with music and all that. But no, she pours it down to the heart of actual emotions and all that and actual feelings, unlike the other people who are trying to get popular over, just being very much publicity hounds and all that. And I think the thing about it too is that it's not only just a freedom of expression of, saying what you feel and all that, but I think also not just that. I think though that she's able to, relate to older music. She's sort of like, to me, I feel kind of like an old soul in the sense that, if you listen to her songs, like, Brutal has a style of Elvis Costello, for instance, even in the song Deja Vu, it references Billy Joel's Uptown Girl. And I will say, if you haven't heard Deja Vu, that is a good song. The way she sings it too, and the way she sings it in that falsetto, like it has like sort of like an early 2000s style to me. Like she has a very early 2000s vibe to the album, and I think that's the thing I like about it is that it's nostalgic to other artists, and it's an appreciation of her influences. When these artists, I think like Lil Nas X and all that, or like other artists that I see or all that try so hard, I feel, to create their own thing without having really basing it on influences. And I think you need influences in order to be creative. It's like somebody once said to me that like um, amateur professionals imitate while amateurs create. And I think that's the thing. I think you base, and I think what Elvis Costello said about what was going on with the whole Olivia Rodrigo thing, when people were saying that, like, oh, she stole from Elvis Costello. Elvis Costello said, you take what you like from a thrill and you make your own out of it. And I think that works too.
Yeah.
But yeah. So any final thoughts on these artists?
I would say that okay. So I guess I'm gonna move Lil Nas X, because I've been hearing him a bit on the radio. At school. Which, by the way, I have my own radio show. You can check it out on Mondays.
This motherfucking guy.
From 6 to 8. So on Mondays, starting February, and if I recall, does Valentine's Day fall on Monday this year?
Yes.
We playing Valentine's Day music.
To all you lovebirds out there.
Yes, but especially for the single people.
Yeah. Who have nobody. Alright, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, tune
in. You single, lonely ass people.
Yes. And if you are an upcoming artist, you send your music to me, and I will play on the radio.
But if it's too lovey-dovey, he's not going to play it. Just remember that.
And it has to be clean.
Yeah, unless it's. But what about Safe Harbor? Like after 10 and all that, you can play music that has censored. That's not censored. Just you can't curse.
I don't know if they still do that anymore, because I know
I think we do it at our school with our station. Safe Harbor. We go by that.
Oh, because I know Storybook, they kind of like been hammering on that lately. So
really, but you're not in Storybook.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's gonna. I don't know if that applies on it.
Oh. And anyway, so what were you gonna say about your final thoughts on Lil Nas X?
Yeah. So anyway, well, I've been also they play all the hit stuff, so I've been hearing his stuff, and honestly, I kind of wish he leaned more into what he was doing on Old Town Road, because I think that was a more interesting thing, like kind of the whole like hip hop and country, whatever. He could have really like capitalized on that, but instead, after that, he just been releasing just generic radio rap. So that's been pretty disappointing. And as far as the Elton John is concerned, I can kind of see where you're coming from, but granted, I'm not as familiar with Elton John's music, but I don't know if I would say like he's the next Elton John.
No,
Elton John of this generation.
I wouldn't say he's the next Elton John by a long shot. I just say by fashion wise, what he does and his choices as a performer, as in how he portrays himself, is sort of, I think, influence on Elton John. And I never know why people have such a problem with him. I don't know if it's because of what he's trying to express. I think, of him being a gay man and all that. And I think he wants to express to people that it's okay for, to see gay people kiss and all that. I think, he's trying to show that to people. And I think he's trying to break barriers. And it's possible that some people have a problem with that too, and they have a problem with that. I'm not saying that everybody that problem is, but but also too, I think it's not just that, I think that people don't like it when musicians are commercial and they're in your face at the time. I think people can get bored of it at times. I mean, I do.
Yeah, I mean, that is also kind of sus. So.
Sus? What do you mean?
You be doing some weirdo stuff. So.
Well, Elton John does the weird stuff by putting mayonnaise in his fries, like Lil Nas X says.
Yeah, I'm just saying he does some weirdo stuff. He does some questionable things, and I do think a lot of it is just done for the sake of views, but
yeah, I never know what to make it of anymore. I think what's the problem with artists from the 2000s and the 2010s is that Not that haven't had these paparazzi people that have been in the face of celebrities from the 60s, 70s, 90s. That we have, but I just feel like these people are getting more popular for their personal lives than their music, and I think it's ridiculous because they're not famous because of their personal life. We're not celebrating and talking about them because of their personal life. We're talking about them because they created something that a lot of people happen to enjoy.
Yeah, I actually have a lot to say about that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we're supposed to be talking about, I guess, those like 3 to 4 artists in particular. We've been talking more about some other stuff, but first off, I want to shout out a guy we've been watching today, JT Curtis.
JT Curtis, we owe you a lot, man.
Go check out his channel. It's fantastic. Get this guy more subscribers and more views.
Yeah.
We need to get him up there. It's like one of, if not the biggest music channel we would do.
We want him bigger than Polyphonic, but yet we love you, Polyphonic.
Yeah, but JT's the next. He's the next dude. We gotta get him up there.
He's the next dude. He's gotta be.
So he has this thing that he's been doing for a few years now. It's called he's documenting like the history of rock and roll. So he just recently put out a video about rock music or whatever in the 2000s, and watching that was interesting to say the least. And this kind of reaffirmed things about how I feel as like me personally, like when it came to the music industry or whatever, or music scene, especially from the 2000s onwards. Like the 2000s in particular is probably one of my least favorite decades. I know we've seen a little more fondly now because of like nostalgia or whatever, because I guess you have people like myself that grew up with that stuff, so like people are very nostalgic for it. Like the 2010s, a lot of people I know don't really, it's not seen in a positive light right now. And for a good reason, because a lot of it is not really good. But one thing I have not liked is that people say, oh, well, 2000 was great. No, what was it? It was a lot of the same stuff. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that people complain about now, a lot of those trends started in the 2000s. But anyway, like
2000s brought a lot of shame.
The 2000s really was I think really the start of when it stopped being about the music, because you like what you were saying about how a lot of these people are more known for like the personal lives or whatever. That is a good point, because think about it like this: how much do we really know about a lot of older people?
What older? Oh, like Elvis and all that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Elvis was different because Elvis was definitely a bigger star, so we knew stuff about Elvis. But like Chuck Berry, Little Richard, like we didn't know that much about them. I mean, it's still they're kind of private, and even with the Beatles, I mean, we knew stuff, but I think everybody at the end of the day remembered these people were musicians. I think we're getting to a point where people remember them as just a person, like how I feel about Kanye West. I think we sort of discussed that. And I don't feel like people think of him first anymore as a musician. I think people think of Kanye as the crazy celebrity who's rich and yet complains and does these crazy things all the time.
We're gonna get to Kanye because I still have some stuff I gotta say about that. But but the thing is that, well, for one, even like some of the stuff we do know about some of these people now, like some of that stuff didn't get revealed like until like years later. But like you're saying, like we still know more of these people like for their music. I mean, that's pretty much how they get remembered, because at the end of the day, they were musicians first as opposed to being a celebrity first. Whereas nowadays, it's like the other way around. And in all honesty, a lot of people coming out now, especially like in the past like 5 or 10 years, a lot of these guys are basically just social media influencers.
Yeah.
Trying to be artists, or really just using the music scene to get their foot in the door to become like big celebrities. That's pretty much what they are now, and it doesn't really help that a lot of them are not very good at what they do, whether it's singing, rapping, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's already an issue in itself, because, the quality of that stuff has dropped dramatically.
Yeah, and I feel like when you see people like on TikTok or social media trying to be singers, it just seems like they're just doing this whole wannabe kind of thing.
Like I said, they just usually get their foot in the door so they can become a big celebrity.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that has also led to the music kind of taking a nosedive as well. And the other thing too, and even for the people that maybe are trying to become like actual artists, again, a lot of them aren't very good at what they do, so a lot of them have to rely on all this other stuff to get views, because even like it also goes for some of the people that maybe are a little better at singing, whatever, but they're still putting out like pretty like average, generic, to mediocre content. So the music doesn't really hold up on its own. The music, like with the older artists, a lot of their music speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And it's not the case for a lot of people coming up right now, at least that's popular. So they have to do all these antics to get people to notice them. So there's that problem. Now, when it comes to Kanye West again is a little more complicated because I think he is definitely still going to be remembered for his music, but he will, I think, also be remembered for his antics as well because he's pretty like both of those things are pretty much synonymous with him. That's why I say he's pretty much like a tortured artist. I also know that for some people feel like he stopped being good after what was it, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. But even then, I don't fully agree with that. But I actually think he has one of the best like music catalog in hip hop and one of the best.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I see what you're saying.
But like I said, I think he'll be remembered for both. Honestly, like I said, he has like general actual issues that he does need to work out. So, but like I said, he's a big personality. He wants to be artistic in many mediums. Like he wants to do music, he wants to do fashion. I think he even wanted to do some video game stuff at one point. I know he wanted to do video game music. I know he wanted to make an album based on video games, which I think I might have found on YouTube.
Really interesting.
Yeah, because I think it's somebody leaked it.
Interesting.
Because he has a couple of canceled albums.
Yeah.
And someone recently actually a few months ago, had made a video talking about his canceled albums. And I think ever since that video came out, I think people have been really digging for that stuff now. And maybe some people found some stuff, maybe some people didn't. But I think somebody found that video game album. It's called Graphics 16. Now, for anyone that doesn't know what that is, that's a video game console from I think Generation 4. And for anyone that doesn't know what that is, that's pretty much like video game consoles from like the early 90s or whatever. Like pretty much like Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, or SNES, like stuff like that. 16-bit. Like the early Sonic the Hedgehog games.
Yeah.
Or Super Mario World. Like that type of stuff. Yeah, as soon as it's 16.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and apparently the album was called that because apparently that's Kanye West's favorite video game console. Which I'm shocked about because I'm just like, what? Nobody remembers what the Graphics 16 is.
I guess Kanye West does because he's got the memory. He's a genius. I mean, remember, he said that he's a genius.
Well, he is a genius. He's
music-wise, yes.
Yes.
World leader now.
No, but I would vote for him. But then again, I'm also an agent of chaos. I would vote for him just to see what happens.
Kanye would have been the worst president of the United States. He's a good musician, but he would have been the worst president.
He probably would. I actually think it would be kind of funny, though, because he would have a meltdown at some point and shut the whole government down.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that wouldn't be funny.
Yeah, he would.
I think he would be
President West, just shut down the government after having a mental breakdown. And I am Walt Disney in the flesh, Stanley Kubrick.
You go on, you gotta think about this for a second. And let's say he did win the election.
Okay.
He's still married to Kim. That means we have the Kardashians in the White House.
No.
That would be. I kind of wish that happened.
It's no different than Donald Trump. I'm sorry.
It probably would, but no, he'd actually be different. He'd be even more entertaining. It will never be a boring moment.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna say us. Somebody's gonna try to make jokes. He's gonna read it. He's gonna get mad, and instead of just tweeting, he's gonna go live. He's gonna have those national press. He's gonna be having those live. What do they call those things when they go live or whatever?
Streams?
No, not live. I mean not live streams. I mean when they actually have like an actual whatever like the president
for enrollment.
Huh?
For enrollment or like what?
No, I mean like when they actually have like their speech or something they have to say.
Oh my god, I'm dozing off. I think right
now. Yeah.
Oh god. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of late.
It's kind of late right now. I think I was sleep talking that for a second. But no, I get what you're saying. Yeah. About that with like accepting speeches and all that. I don't know. I mean I do think Kanye West should have did an album after his experience with Taylor Swift, and he should have just praised Beyonce, and he should have just stole Beyonce from Jay-Z when he had the chance.
Yeah.
Maybe Jay-Z wouldn't have cheated on her, but maybe also too, Beyonce wouldn't have made Lemonade. So hey.
Yes, which is easily the best album she's put out so far.
It is interesting because it's like the one thing I will say about Beyonce is that like I feel like since the 2010s, it's like what has she done besides Lemonade, or what has she done that's really just made people like that's been mainstream? Because even Lemonade is not, I feel like, in the albums and all that sense. It's like it's not in the mainstream radio. It's just people talk about it as it's a good album, and it was probably in Rolling Stone. It was like one of the great albums.
Yeah, because honestly, I'll be honest, like prior to that album, she really, at least in my opinion, she really hasn't had any great albums. Okay, you have 4. I think that was pretty. That was a pretty solid album. It probably has the best vocal ability, but beyond that, like her albums have just been kind of there. Not bad or even just average.
Yeah.
I know she had that surprise album that she had came out with, but
what, recently?
No, this is like a couple years ago.
Hmm.
It was a self-titled album. It was a surprise album that she had put out. And she had like made like it's a visual album as well, so she had like a music video for every like song, whatever. So like there was some decent effort there, but like I feel like aside from the fact that it was a visual album and it was a surprise album, there really wasn't much there to be said. Especially since, at least in my opinion, I didn't think that the song selection was very good, and I also think it had her worst vocals.
Oh, interesting.
Which honestly may sound worse in hindsight, especially coming off of 4, which again has been arguably the album with her best vocals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with Beyonce is because she's been such a big star for the longest time now. She kind of is her worst enemy in the sense of how she is with the public. I think she's so isolated from the world, being one of the biggest stars. I feel like nobody sees her anymore. People really have to keep her hidden. Like her security team really has to hide her from people. You know, in that sense, you know.
I don't think it's really a problem.
But I'm not saying it's so much of a problem, but it's just that like I'll say the reason why it's a problem music-wise is being so isolated from the world. It's sometimes hard to how do you, you know, put that into music or relate to an audience and all that, you know, especially when you're one of the richest musicians in the world. You know, because I think she is probably, I believe she and Jay-Z are both like, well, at least combined, they're the richest people in the music industry.
Well, the thing too is that she doesn't really write her own songs like that. Like she, for the most part, she's a performer.
Yeah, but I heard she does write her songs. I mean, she is a songwriter.
I heard it's more like assistant, but she has some.
Yeah, maybe more like lyrics and stuff. I mean, all of them. I mean, I remember people were complaining about Drake, how he had ghostwriters.
Yeah, but that's different. Like,
yeah,
this is different. Like when it comes to singers, they can kind of get away with it because usually, like, it really wasn't until like you could argue like the 60s, 11, or even like I guess more like rock artists and stuff.
Yeah, because like you know, in the 50s, it was unnormal if you did write your own songs, but in the 60s, they changed that with the Beatles, that if you didn't write your own songs, you would be looked at as a weirdo.
Yeah, but still, like a lot of vocalists in general, they usually have songwriters.
Yeah.
But that's why they have the whole singer-songwriter genre. Like, if that wasn't the case, it wouldn't exist. So Beyonce is definitely someone that usually has songwriters. Now, that doesn't mean she doesn't, like, it doesn't mean that she's not in the process of, like, assisting with the writing of the song or, you know, whatever, but for the most part, she has songwriters.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case for, like, her more recent stuff. I'm not sure how more involved that stuff is. But I do, but if she did get more involved in that kind of process, I do think it's been kind of showing.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's interesting in that sense. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I will say that, like, you know, I think to bring things on, like, I guess, like, an ending note, because I'm sort of getting tired. Our battery's almost dead anyway. But, that, you know, new artists, I think there are some going to be, I think every now and then there'll be once in a blue moon an artist that we might interact people who like old soul stuff might realize, oh, this person's good, because they, relate back to these old musicians, and then they'll do an album where we won't like what they do, almost like Maroon 5. They did stuff. Oh my god, yeah, he hates when I talk about Maroon 5 because I think Maroon 5 actually has some good stuff. But Maroon 5, Adam Levine was able to collaborate with people like Stevie Wonder in 2005 at Live 8 and all that. And I think, he can perform covers well in all that sense. But when he does an album just for the main audience of people, like in 2017, I feel like the album fails because it's not being true to what it, and it's just showing the business of music. And I think it's, and just, listen, we all know that the music industry is a major wealthy industry and that musicians can get a lot of money. But I think that in order how we relate to these people is if they tell it to us straight, if they don't just sing, oh, I'm on a yacht, oh, I'm on a yacht, like and all that, And I think that's one thing I would like to say with that. And I think I don't know if we should end it right there just in case our battery dies. So, that's the one problem with recording on the spot, when your laptop isn't fully charged.
All right, I got a few more things, but I'll try to make it quick. So first, I'll just comment on the Weeknd thing. The reason why I'm not a big fan of the Weeknd is not because of his music per se. I think he, at least from what I've heard from people, he seems to have some interesting stuff. I just don't like his voice. Because he sounds like he's trying to do a Michael Jackson impression. And it sounds really bad, in my opinion. So until he stops doing that, I'm not feeling it. Yeah. Now, how much have you listened to Bruno Mars stuff?
Oh, Bruno Mars is good, yeah. I think Bruno Mars is what I always loved about Bruno Mars too is I feel like he had that old soul style too, and
he definitely does.
And I think he's somebody who's been true to the art form and all that.
I think it's interesting though how he kind of started doing I guess more kind of like a pop indie rock stuff ish type of stuff when he first started, and then he jumped right into more funk and disco.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And what's the deal with Mark Ronson?
Mark Ronson was the he's more like a creator, like a DJ or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And they did Uptown Funk together, which is funny because it's just credited to him, but he's like like a party, like a DJ kind of guy, I think.
Yeah. Have you listened to anything from Silk Sonic?
No, but I do want to hear that because I know that's Bruno Mars' newest project.
Yeah, he actually. Because I know he teamed up with one of the rappers that was in there. XXL 2016.
That was in what exactly?
XXL. Okay. It's a rapper. It's a rapper magazine. It's like a hip hop magazine, and what they usually do is that each year they'll bring up 10 or so rappers that they believe is going to be the next big hit. Mm. So he came out of so the guy's name is the guy he's working with, his name's Anderson .Paak, and he came out in the 2016 class, which I do think is probably the best and worst year. Mm. The worst because it had some of the worst rappers ever. Yeah. But they also had one of the most hilarious ciphers that I've ever listened to. Right. I still love listening to it to this day. But the other thing too is why I would also say the best, aside from the fact that he had a really entertaining one, is that most of the people from that particular year actually became successful. Interesting. That's when people like Young Thug and Lil Uzi Vert and okay, not Young Thug. He came out in 2014. I meant Lil Uzi Vert and a couple other people. I'll tell you later. But a couple of those guys, if you're all watching, you probably know what I'm talking about. A bunch of those guys came out that year, and Anderson .Paak, he did as well. So he was trying to rap. His verse was awful, but it was hilarious. So I think him and Bruno Mars working together, I think is fantastic because he seems to be a very committed person. They seem to work pretty well together. So I actually got my mother that album. I haven't listened to it yet. I was going to when I was going through this music, when I was starting to get a little bored with the stuff I had to listen to prepare for this.
I know, right?
Yeah, because
I couldn't even fully listen to Billie Eilish and Lil Nas X. I just got through the whole Olivia Rodrigo on her journey. But
like I said, with her, I really hope she kind of goes back to what she was doing. Like the performances that she was doing before. I hope she goes back to that. More importantly, tries to put that into a studio album.
Yeah, and Olivia Rodrigo, what's your advice for her?
I guess she could just continue to do what she's doing, but just maybe a little more lively, I guess.
And advice for Billie Eilish and Lil Nas X.
Lil Nas X, he needs to go back to the Old Town Road type of thing. And Billie Eilish, she can just continue to do what she's doing. I think she's been doing fine for the most part. But there is one other thing I did want to mention. Let's see, we got 3%. All right, so this is probably the last thing. I think this is the best way to end it off.
Okay, sure.
So I saw this video on YouTube as well. I think you should check it out. But do you think we will ever have do you think legends still exist or can exist?
Different, totally different. And I think the reason why is not that there are not people that are there are people that will be super talented, yes, that'll come in over the years and all that, but we won't have another Beatles again, because they paved the way. There wasn't really anything going on with rock music in that sense of the way of before the Beatles did it, and that's sort of the same with Elvis, Buddy Holly, and all that. And I think we're not going to have pioneers in a rock setting. We might have other music that people might be pioneers for with certain rap genres, but not high school.
Yeah, but I was also just talking about just I guess music in general. I know for rock, that's just kind of dead. Like I would say for rock, maybe the Black Keys. But or Muse, but aside from them, I don't know. Some people probably say Arctic Monkeys or Arctic Fire.
I should have listened to Muse more.
I'm honestly just going based on that one song. To be honest with you.
Yeah,
it's just that good. But like artists in general, especially in the last 20 years, do you see any of these people being like a legitimate music legend?
No.
Because for me, the only people I really would give like that would be Kanye West, Jay-Z, and maybe Bruno.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish, maybe Pink, sort of, maybe Eminem, but I don't know about the rest of these guys. Like Drake, I can't really say much because he just kind of does a lot of generic stuff. Maybe Lil Wayne, I don't know. But there's a lot of people I really don't think that will be music legends. I really hope that changes, but
yeah.
I don't know.
And now as we get to one, we've ended on that. We might never have another music legend again. Just remember that, people. We might never have another music legend again.
But what do you guys think? Do you guys believe that we have any music legends now or in the past 20 years?
Let us know. Let us know in the comments. And let us know. This will also be distributed on the podcast platforms as well. So goodbye, people. Goodbye. 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 And we're gonna end this. We're gonna end this before it creams it for us. Creamed it for us.
Did it end?
Yeah.
No, it didn't end.
No, it didn't end.